Hey, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Bad Work Stories Made Good. We're here with Emma, and I've got Rocky at my feet. Emma, do you have Mo with you? Your
No,
cat
Mo's out running around outside. Yeah, morning time.
Morning time. Well, what's our bad work story to be made good this week?
Well, this week we're going to talk about leaders not being real and holding back their emotions. I think we've probably all seen this, but recently one of my clients has been going through a restructure. And I think the example that's come up is really talking about the business of restructure and what's required for a business, but actually not acknowledging what the humans need. So what's going on for people. People are losing jobs. People are going through a lot of change and there's a lot of upheaval, but it kind of feels very mechanical what's going on. So it's not, it could be and can be a very good process, but unfortunately it's coming across as a little bit buttoned down and controlled. So that's the feeling that the leaders are kind of giving out.
Okay, cool. Great example for us to work on. And I can pitch one in here as well from actually just happened today. And it's the same thing about not being real. So here we have a leader who had a situation happen in his senior team, and privately he's frigging pissed off, right? But externally, he's kind of acting like it's no big deal.
Yeah.
And well, it's kind of his version is to use sarcasm, right? Which is, one way, and we'll look at some other ways. But it's like, not being real and the fear, the bad work story, in this situation is the fear of being real. Like how do I actually do this, in a way that doesn't create drama, right? So not understanding how to do that creates that fear, the fear of being real, when stuff does happen that's not good.
Totally.
And the specific example, right? So people can anchor something on is, and I'm sure this is just such a common one, right? That many people will resonate with it, which is you've organized a meeting. And then, a fair few of them decide that they've got other priorities and then just tell you that they're not turning up. It's like,
let's not be there.
Let's just not be there. So,
wow.
Yeah. So I'm sure that's one many people can identify with. So, So we're kind of going to talk about those key themes, how to make it good, and we can come back and address those two situations. We're going two for the price of one today.
Oh, absolutely.
Awesome. So is there anything else we want to say about, the emotions before we get into make it good?
Well, I mean, I think honestly, leaders, I think sometimes feel they're alone in these situations when they've got a big thing or something to deal with. And I would say you're never alone. Working with the team around you, having a close confidant, someone like Karina or I, they'll be coaching you, because sometimes
was that a plug, Emma?
Well, just a shameless plug, but being able to express, go through that, and a situation where this came up for me was an organisation we were working with was going into agile. And the CEO was about to address the front runner tribes as we were helping the teams get prepared for the big change. And we said, so how are you feeling about this change to agile? And basically said, well, I'm actually totally terrified, actually. I could use some swear words because he did. But essentially he was saying, I feel like I'm handing over control of the organization because we're going agile, which is going to be breaking down decision-making, making things more decentralized, smaller groups, teams. We need things to move faster. So it needs to be, away from the decision-making at high. And I'm really terrified about it. But he said, I really can't see any way forward. And so, I'm trusting you guys to do this. And so he actually used this, used the honesty with the group. And when we checked in afterwards, how did you feel, about what was said? The teams were saying, "What's the first time we've ever heard him be honest?"
Wow.
And it was amazing. And they felt so responsible for the fact that, they were being given this opportunity and this chance to really step up and really make a difference in the organisation. They felt the weight of what a leader has on their shoulders. And so it was a really positive experience. But,
well, shall we break that down so our listeners can, and we can stay with your example for now, and then we can go to the other one. So what's the breakdown there? So what were the key factors in there that made that good? So we had, the beginning that was not good, and then what happened, or what's the kind of learning points in there to make it good?
Yeah, the learning points are really that communication goes beyond just the words. And I think that, if you are you've got a big decision or a big change or something big's happened in an organization, and, you get your wonderful, communications people to write out, here's the rationale, here's the situation. But actually, everyone will have an emotional response and reaction to it. So the first thing is, if you're a leader delivering any communications, what is your own personal response or reaction? Just, what's coming up for you straight away?
Yeah, like being real, what's
that's right. Connect, right?
Yeah, to be
connect
connected
into your own emotional reaction to this. And, having worked with leaders for so long, I know that they are human. Most of them are not wanting to go out there and make big changes in organizations, or, if it's redundancies, or if it's, they don't go out there feeling like, oh, well, who cares? So what? People will lose their jobs. I don't think I've ever met a leader that feels that way. Yeah. So I think connect in would be the first step for me, with your own reaction and response, and share that with someone close to you.
And I think sorry, go.
Yeah, carry on. So you can get your feelings out, and then you feel more comfortable with sharing them with the wider group, beyond, your inner circle.
And I think there's something there around the fear of losing it, the number of leaders who, it's almost like they think like, oh my God, to be a leader, I've got to be like so calm and controlled, like contained. Yeah. And I think, the bad work piece in there is that people think that there's kind of like a human superpower. That this calm control thing is like nothing phases them. You might have heard that phrase, before.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, nothing phases them. But as saying is like, well, the truth is they are friggin' phased.
Yeah.
That there is a frustration. There is a fear factor. I don't know how to handle this in the restructuring. I don't know what's going to be happening. I'm afraid of letting go, facing the unknown. Saying the words, I trust everyone, and then actually really meaning it.
Yeah.
It can be a bridge, for a lot of people. So that actually kind of getting off your pretense piece of,
totally.
Look, I've got my shit together kind of thing, to actually being vulnerable, right? Just saying, look, this is how it is for me, and so actually, and I think the clarity is, for me anyway, is that emotional regulation is still really important, right? So this is not a license to say, oh yeah, you can lose your shit and just react and scream and yell or whatever. And okay, all of those are options, but they have consequences.
Absolutely,
right? And we've probably all been there. We've either done it or been on the receiving end of it, and we know all that does is create more drama.
Well, it creates that fight, flight, fear, that whole, our whole reaction in our body will, will be, ugh, so, and what we're wanting for leaders to be is to connect and to have that
Mm.
emotional connection. And you can't do that if you're beating others up or if you're, scaring people. So, it is that rallying around that human response to others' needs, and I think that's the level of emotional pitch that we're looking at for leaders, is to connect in and to be, as you say, not lose your shit, but basically be honest. I mean, it's a deep honesty, um, and having thought through, because it won't be your first response, as I say, I felt like this when I first went through this, but now I'm feeling I need to connect with you, or I need to share with you, I need to ask your help, or I need to, get you on, on side for our next step, or, whatever it is that you need people to do. Or just open the space for people to be, which, in the workspaces, we do find, do, what's the next step? What's the next step? What's the next step? So
Yeah.
allowing space.
Allowing space, beautiful.
Mm.
And there's if you're just listening to Emma there, you might have picked up that there's a lot of I statements. This is how I feel. This is what's going on for me. So that I is taking ownership of my feeling, just saying, look, the feelings that are coming up for me right now are this. I feel sad. I feel confused. I feel very frustrated that this has happened.
Yeah.
And that allowing that, allowing the color, if you like, to come in, and the senses, it's a whole body experience to be present, and then to be able to say, okay, so having acknowledged this, what do we need to do about this? How does it relate to our culture, etc.?
Yeah.
What do we need from each other, or amend in our culture moving forward? And it can be a very beautiful thing, Yeah. Anything else on this?
And the reality is that what the outcome of this is that leaders become are more trusted, and that's trustworthy, and they can be, and they will be seen as more grounded, more not someone high up, not a just a figurehead, but actually a real person who is a true human. And that's what organizations need more now than ever.
Absolutely. Yeah. Very nice. Anything else on this particular example for right now?
I think, I think the pretending and holding back, is dangerous. It's I've seen people or actually not talking at all. So I think that holding back and the an absent leader is dangerous, because in the lack of that, when a leader is not present and fronting, then we are all able to create stories. Imaginations run wild. I've seen some incredible, stories created around a lack of fronting up by leaders to tough situations, and that does not help anybody. And the fear just rolls out throughout an organization.
Beautiful. Anything else on that situation?
No, that's all that's coming up for me right now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
cool. Well, I'll just do kind of a bit of a practical thing on the other, the second situation that we're discussing here around meetings. So, the situation, is to recap, was, you've had, and I said, sure, this resonates with people, will be that you've organized a meeting, and then last minute you find out, a third of your people, or even a quarter of your people, some key people, decide not to turn up. Just tell you they're not coming. Right, it's like, what the frick? And then so what do you do about that, right? The option, the kind of the path of least resistance, if you like, can be okay, well, this is what we're facing with, laugh it off or rejig or use sarcasm or any other number of, different approaches. But actually coming back to the core piece of, as we've been talking with your example, Emma, is stop pretending. Are you pissed off?
Yeah.
Like, what the frig, this is an important meeting. It's my meeting.
Yeah. Yes.
Right. And actually, the disrespect, like when you look at it from a cultural perspective, and I think this is the key thing, is from a cultural perspective, this is not about you and I, this is about how have we agreed to behave in our organization with each other. And of course, people have their own tendencies around their own personal values and, being respected or trusted and stuff like that. But yeah, and I think it's a really interesting one that I've seen many, many leaders take the path of least resistance, which is just not to confront it, but actually to be honest and to confront it in a way that says, hey, to give some feedback. When you just told me you weren't turning up for my meeting, I was really pissed off.
Yeah.
We all know, like if you're preparing meetings, putting stuff into it, the planning, making it really successful, not wasting people's time.
And getting the right people together is an important part of our work. And, wanting everyone's input into, what, if it, and it is an important meeting, that's why we get together. We get together to work together and to make, to solve the big problems and the challenges, face the challenges. And if you don't turn up, then what is the point?
And allowing that and not addressing it, right?
So what can we do? What can we do?
So in terms of making that good, having that ability to say, hey, this is how I'm feeling, like just what we were talking about before is like, that when you told me you weren't coming up, I felt really disappointed. I felt really frustrated. I actually am pissed off. And I think the difference, that people are not used to, or some in this situation, it's like we're not used to saying, like, just naming the feeling and speaking like this. It's kind of like, if you're pissed off, it must be this big drama thing and raise your voice. And, like you said, the fight or flight kicks in and we're afraid of that.
And stuff going on behind the scenes and people are saying, what do you think he was really feeling or they were really feeling? What was really going on, It's just so much drama gets created.
I know. And then on the reverse of that, I've seen situations where leaders have thought it's their God-given right to be angry. And to express it as like real anger, like like dramatic anger.
It's a misconception of power, isn't it? Some leaders who are undeveloped really feel that if they can show their anger, they'll be powerful, but it's all wrong. We know it's all wrong.
And it's so, and I think the other piece, so it's like two bad work stories in one. So being able to, like what we've just, with your example, and having that confidence and vulnerability to say, hey, look, this is how I'm feeling. Like took a long time to get this meeting together. The fact that you're not going to be there impacts things.
Yes.
So let's have a chat about what your other priority is and see if we can come up with some solution, because it's really important for you to be there.
Yes.
I think the other perspective that is sometimes lost is that, and I've heard this a couple of times, which is, oh, so-and-so leader's so calm. Like, oh my God, they never ruffle.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like this aura of they have a special superpower. And the impact of that is people think that they're like, because they have real feelings, right? Then they're not calm. That there's this disconnect. And yes, it's a skill, and the calm piece, but it's also the realness around there, because I can still communicate my anger to you in a calm way.
Absolutely.
And I think it's so rich. What we can learn from each other if we
Yeah,
just
and I think
really
there's an
open
edge to that
up.
calmness, as long as it is true calm and the
Yeah,
person's
absolutely, not
not the
mean-faced. Yeah,
seething, you've had
yeah,
that.
exactly. Yeah, the seething calm. That's a
You're
good
like,
one.
okay, I still feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's like that. It's kind of like a silent clobber, right? And
Yeah, exactly.
oh, is there anything wrong, Brianna? Nope. No, I'm fine. I'm fine. And I'm sure we've all faced that. I'm fine, thank you. And you go, my God, no, she's not fine. Yeah, and I think, like the strategy that you introduced, right up the front, which is being able to talk that through with someone you really trust, so you can actually download the rawness of how you're feeling and
Well,
get
we
to a
all need to
point where you
vent.
can
I
actually,
mean, we all need to
yeah,
vent from time to time.
exactly.
We just don't need to
Exactly.
do it in front of everybody.
Exactly. So, have the emotion, regulate, and then come back to purpose, right?
Mhm.
What is the purpose? The purpose is to course correct. The purpose is to reinforce.
Yes,
The purpose is to connect and be real. And then
exactly.
how do we create that environment that is values aligned for what we're up to? So, yeah, interesting. There we go.
Well, two situations that I think, people
Lots
can
of options there,
can
yeah.
resonate with and hopefully find some way forward. And if and you are a leader, and this makes sense to you, then time to maybe connect in with your own maybe examples of when you've done it well and when you maybe haven't done it well.
Yeah,
What your
that'd be
learnings are
nice.
from that.
Yeah, very good. Well, over and out from us for
Thanks
another
for listening
week,
to
and we'll
Bad
see
Work
you next
Stories
week.
Made
Till
Good
then,
with Emma and
make those bad
Karina.
work stories
We
good.
hope you enjoyed this episode and that the perspectives we had shared stimulate your thinking and are a catalyst for your own reflections and actions. If you have a bad work story you would like to share, get in touch at help@badworkstoriesmadegood.com. And if you enjoyed or have some feedback, please leave a review. We appreciate it. Till next time, may all your bad work stories be made good.